Hi everyone, welcome to this video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about color. So main properties of color. The most important thing is with if you're creating a character or a background is the value, because that is really making all the difference. Value describes the lightness or darkness of a color. So white is 0 and black is 100, and that is with the brightness scale in that's here different in Photoshop. So in Photoshop you have the value is called brightness, and brightness on 0% is black, and on 100 it's white. So for example, if you would make a drawing, if you would make a painting, make it white, and the biggest contrast you can create is with black on white. So like this. And you can also use, maybe you're using gray for the distance, like here, like some mountains. But that is the thing that is, our eyes are really working good on values. So yeah, keep that in mind. And I will show more about that later. So the properties of color is you have value, and in Photoshop you have this, and also in different drawing programs you have all these bars. So then you have the brightness, or basically value. So the black and white and gray. Then we have saturation. So that's the intensity of the color. For example, if we would make, so let's do that here. If we make this, we can use this bar. So if we have this red, so if we put the value on 100% or the brightness on white, then the saturation on 0% is white, but on 100% it's really intense red. So like this. And here you can see also if you change the value, the color get darker. So you get really this intense dark red with if you make it darker until it gets this. Yeah. So here's the value really on black. Then you get this. When you put the value lighter, you get this dark color, but it's really intense saturation. So saturation defines the intensity of a color. So let's go back here. So this is this really intense red, and you can make this, for example, if you want to make this character stand out like this, you can use that saturation here lower and this higher, and then this character will pop out. So, and I'll also show more about that. But yeah, saturation is mainly the intensity of the color. And then we have the hue. So let's see. So this is a color wheel, and we use a color wheel to pick colors. And in Photoshop you have this bar, and it's, yeah, how you could call it a color bar, and that's also called the hue. So here it starts with red and ends with red, and in the middle there are all these different colors. So yeah, you can slide this bar to pick different colors. A hue is the pure color without value and saturation. So it's a pure color. So the saturation, so if we pick this blue color, so if we have this blue color, we can change the saturation like this. We make it even more intense, or make it less intense. And here it's white. But we can also do 50% intense and then blackness. So now it's really black. Now it's this. So you have all these different sliders in Photoshop, and all other drawing programs you would have that as well. And but I like this this HSB. You can also use RGB, but then you are mixing colors, and yeah, this works best for me because you can break it down in these things. So let's move on. Complementary colors. So if you're making a color, if you're making a drawing, let's make some quick sketch of a drawing. So put it here, sketch here. So here is an apple, like this, and it's maybe on an. What can we put it on? Maybe there's this green field. It's on. So maybe we also see some. Let's do this. So there's an apple, and it's on this green grass field. So we have here, can put this grass, let's make it green, and let's make the apple red. And you can see this apple really stands, starting to stand out. Even if you put lines away, you see this big contrast between the colors. And basically that's because of when you have the color wheel, you can pick colors opposite of each other, and that creates a lot of contrast. So what I'm describing here, complementary colors are pairs of color that are opposite of each other in the color wheel. The mixed, they cancel each other out. So that is when you would, if you use paint, for example, so if you use this, this red and this green, that should become a neutral or a gray color, because they cancel each other out, because they're opposite of each other on the color wheel. When put next to each other, they create the strongest contrast. So what I was showing here. So if you would use, for example, you can show the same drawing. Let's delete this part. Here we put this drawing here, and let's make so here we have this green color, and the red is somewhere here, really in the opposite of the color. But if we're using this bluish color for the apple, you almost don't see it, and it's a different color, you see? But yeah, we can also make, if it's really blue, it's like that. But if it's red, it stands out more. So that's really interesting. So the same with yellow. Yellow and green also don't really, and sometimes it can work. But if you want to stand this this apple out, you can use the red to really push it. And I will show later again a bit more about it. But complementary colors, yeah, you use that. You can have a color wheel somewhere here that I can use. Yeah, I could use this one. So you can also take, for example, purple here, or blue, yellow, this color, and this color, and so on. I think this is a little bit off this color wheel, but if you put the color wheel, and I think later I have one, then you can use those opposite colors to pick out colors. So let's go to this one. So warm versus cool colors. You have two sides of the color wheel. You have the warm colors and you have the cool colors. So, and we like to evoke a feeling like the sun is warm, so that's red and orange, and the bluish colors feel cold. And I think that's really for everyone. So blue is for cold, for ice, water, and red is for fire, warmth, and so on. And it's also they also have different properties. So in science, I think they use it in the universe to calculate how far a planet is, and so on. They measure that by the color. So when a red have a longer wavelength than blue, blue has a shorter wavelength. So that's a big difference between colors. So yeah, and later I will show more about warm versus cool colors. But again, then you see why those opposite colors work really great against each other. So let's take a look here. Color harmonies. Colors that are seen together, that have a pleasing effect and are in harmony. So if you're creating a character with colors, it can be really useful to use these color harmonies. And these are rules. You could break them if you want, but normally you want to make use of these color harmonies, and it will definitely help you. And it's also interesting when you're going to a museum or something like that, that you look at these color harmonies and think about how you could use those. So let's start. I already talked about the complementary, that you're using the opposite colors of the color wheel. So this orange and blue work really good together. So again, you can show them together. If you put them together, you see this. Or let's do it like this. So if you have this blue spot and you use this, you get this. So if you're, for example, if we would make an alien, so something like this, and we give this alien an eye, so maybe we can give him this iris, and that works really well. Maybe you want him to give him also some dots, maybe using the saturation a bit, or maybe making these dots here. So something like this. Maybe he has this. So most of the time what I do is then I take base color, for example here blue, and use that orange for details. So that works really well. What you can also use is an analogies, and then you're using how would you say that? You're seeing one part of the color wheel. For example, here, then you have this green, and you can also do it on the slider. Then you take a bit of this color that's next to the green, and then you slide a bit over to the right to get this. And you can do that also with, for example, with this pinkish color. You can move it to this side, and then this. And then you have an analogous color scheme. So that's also really suitable for a character. For example, if you would make, and then I normally play around with saturation. So for the base color, I put this saturation here and make this eye. So here, maybe I use this color for the pupil. So here, taking this here, and maybe use this for the dots. So, and I think that really works really well. And that is more interesting than if you would just use if you just use one color. So here, then we're using the white here. So this would really be a mono color scheme. And of course it can work. You could use it, but yeah, it's more more boring. Oh, this would be crossing this here. So this one would make more interesting because you're using making use of that analogous color scheme. So try to think of that when you're doing that. So try it. You can also show that bit here. So if we let's use these colors. So you can pick 3 colors, and they're in this triangle next to it. So here we make this alien red, like here. So something like this. And we are making this eye here. And let's give him a green eye, like this here. And make this white. And then we are using this purple for some things here. So it can also make, creates this interesting dots. And maybe you're using, or you can slide them a bit. So here. But don't slide too often. So you can also use maybe a bit here for some light, maybe. But stay close to these 3 colors and you will get this really strong color scheme. So you can also use split complementary. So that's basically what you're doing here is you're using the complementary colors, here, this and that. Only this side you split. So between this. And then it's the same as the triad, that you're picking those colors like there. And you also have the rectangle and the square. So here the square is a perfect square on the color wheel. And you can also rotate it like this. So if it would be here, then you pick these colors. But with a rectangle, it's that you're using a rectangle. So like this here. So here, and then you use it to pick different colors here and there. So like that. So, and there are a lot, and there's also some software like Adobe has from Photoshop. They have a web page where you can make all these different color schemes, where they give you tools to create these themes, so you don't have to make them yourself. So a family of colors. So basically, and you have different. This is the old one, and the new one is a bit different. I think it's the new one is has these different colors. I don't know it from my head, but I use this because I think it's really the primary. If you use for primary colors, blue, red, and yellow. For me, those are really primary colors. And so you could call these the parents of all colors. And if this color and this color would have a baby, you would get orange. And if red and blue has a baby, you will get purple. So this one. And if it's blue and yellow has a baby, you get this green color. So that's what they mean with children of the primary colors. So tertiary colors are when, for example, if the grandchildren of the primary colors. So then you would get these middle colors again. So I think I'm showing that here. So here I'm showing that mixing the colors get these different colors. So if you're using this, and they started using this when they made all these classic paintings, they figured this out. So they're using the primary colors to create secondary colors, and you can use this out of paint. I personally don't really use it, but it's interesting to know. And then you have also primary colors plus secondary colors, you get tertiary colors. So if you mix this yellow with this child of them, you get this color and so on. Mixing primary and secondary colors, you get tertiary colors. So yeah, what I was explaining. So color meaning. Each color has a meaning, and that is a bit of a cultural thing. So in different cultures, colors can mean different, and also colors, their meaning changes over time. For example, with red. Let's look at that. So the color of red, most people associate with that color is energy, passion, danger, courage, fire. A good example is if you look at the movie Pixar, Inside Out. They use these colors for their character. So if you would make this, if you would make an angry character like this, giving him a red color is really helping that that idea. So maybe you can use that, and maybe you can yeah, pick a color scheme that fits with that. So if you're making an optimistic character, so maybe here, but maybe it can also, you don't have to make the whole character like that. So maybe here we have this character, and this character standing like this. It's really an optimistic character. So maybe the whole character. So let's color it quickly. So what color would we give him? So we have this color for this character. And then maybe you can give him this orange clothing. And yeah, you can give him basically every skin color you want, because yeah, maybe you want this, maybe you just have this character with this skin color, but you want him to make really optimistic. You can use this orange to create that feeling more. So maybe you can use the clothing as well to give these characters those colors. But that orange stands for optimistic, fun, stimulates creativity, independent. So you can use it. You can also use it maybe in a car or in a room, in the background, and so on. Yellow, happiness, and enthusiasm, positivity, opportunity, energize. So for energy, of course, think of your favorite Pokemon, for example. It's energy, and we're using that here. So the same with red, we're also using it for in our traffic, for example, we're using this. So watch out. because red are eyes. And I think that's something evolutionary. So, for example, if we are cutting ourselves and we see blood, we really react to that. Pink is for compassion, love, immature, playful, beauty. So you can maybe, if you're making a cute girl, so there's this cute girl, and it would really help to give her this maybe this pink dress, and that will really help with giving her this more this cute to give her this cute looks. Maybe some element here, and then of course maybe you can combine it as well. Maybe if it's a really positive cute girl, you can use it yellow in the hair to make it like that, or maybe there's some yellow in the dress, so you can play around with that. Blue is for trust, honest, relaxed, order, and loyalty. So that's why police officers have blue have these blue suits on. So great drawing. But so I think maybe you can think of more characters that are blue. You'll also see it a lot in movies. So let's delete these 3 layers. Purple you can use for spirituality, compassion, sensitivity, religion, mystery. You see that they're using this color a lot for villains. So maybe if you want to make this really mysterious character, maybe character with a cape, so something like this. This can really help making a character mysterious. Maybe you can give him this white eyes, but the cape really helps making this character mysterious. And you see it a lot with villains. And then you can use the opposite color, yellow, to maybe make some gold things. So natural of brown. So that's, of course, brown is basically orange or reddish color, but with a lot of blackness in it. But that will give you natural honesty, comfort, warmth, stability. That's why it's also, you see it a lot in homes, because it's a color that makes us feel comfort and natural. You also have dirty browns and so on. So that's also the scary thing with browns is it can get a bit muddy and ugly. With green, it's also, so for green works also. Of course, it's a color you see. We used to see a lot in nature. So that's also why I think it's a color that works really well with safety. White and black aren't really colors, but the same like brown is just a dark orange. But white and black, they really have powerful cultural meaning. So in my culture, white is goodness and so on, and in some other cultures, black has different meaning than here. Here in the European cultures, black is often associated with death or power. It's also elegance. It's worth thinking about the meaning behind colors when you're making a character design. And maybe you can, in Disney does it really a lot. So maybe you can look at some Disney movies and look at the colors of those characters. So then we can move on. And so I already talked a bit with values, but here you can see it a bit more. So here, one of the things noticed most is this house, because it's on the gray, so it stands out more. You can even make this house stand out more if you make this more area around it more white. So you can use value to make things stand more out. You can really see it clearly here. You can make this even black, then stands out even more. So this is the strongest tool we have in painting to make this this work. And we can go to UE, and with UE, for example, yeah, it's what I was telling earlier with this green, and then you want this apple, yeah, popping out of it. Then you're using the opposite color, and that makes for a big contrast. And that's how I'm using it here. So all these colors are quite close together. So this, in this case, I also used the this darker red for the trees. So it's still the house is out. But if you would make, we could actually take this drawing and let's make it really gray, and now give it one color. For example, here, this. Now we can make this house stand out more by picking this house. And now I'm using a Photoshop Ctrl-U, the UE saturation tool. And if you make this house yellow, it stands out really well out of the drawing. So first you have value, then you get the UE. Then the edges. So, and that's of course what you also see with our eyes. If you have your eyes on something, the rest around it has these blurry lines. And just a small percentage of what we've seen is sharp, and the rest around it is blurry. So you can get this depth with the edge. So what I'm showing here. Saturation. So yeah, here, if we put the saturation, that's this bar, really high, you stand out more. So if you take this house actually, and again, I take that Ctrl-U tool. So yeah, so Ctrl-U, and if I put the saturation down, if I put it really down, it's not that noticeable, but if I really put it up, it really stands out. So you can use the saturation to let things pop out more. And then there's also the last thing, and that is maybe that is the one that you noticed least quick. Before that, you noticed these other things first, are textures. So how more details you give, how more how more that attracts the eye. So we can even make it stronger by deleting all these details here. So that you could really make this really more abstract. Don't show all the leaves, and then you get really, your eye gets pulled by all these details here, and you can really see it clearly here. So try to think of that, especially when you're making a background. That's really important. So let's look at more tips for picking colors. And oftentimes I use a gamut mask to pick colors, and I will explain now how I do use that. So here in this drawing, I'm showing that. So I start with the sketch, and then I look all the layers that I'm showing in different videos. But I first focus on the values. And also in the last image, I'm showing why I start with values, because it's the most important contrast. Then I take a color wheel and I pick, so let's take this color wheel to show it. So here we have this color wheel. And then in this case, I was going for a triadic color scheme. So I pick this red, pick a line to the middle, like here. And then I will make a line that's going this. So think of it in cake and make 3 parts of it. So now I have a triadic color scheme. What a gamut mask is, here let's delete this and make this mask here. I create a mask on top of it. Let's make a layer under it. You can see my other videos about making masks. So making, so here, I deleted those 3 points. I think I did. So here we have the red, this and this, so something like this. So now I can make this triangle in this color shape and make this black. This one down. So now we have this triangle with the colors we could use. So here we can use this yellow, then you can use green, but then it's way more desaturated. But you're mainly using these 3 colors, or you're using these shadow colors. But with the gamut mask, so maybe you're creating this here. So if we would paint this boat with these colors, then yeah, maybe it's all really saturated. So maybe you can pick one color you want to stand out more. So maybe I really want to use really bright yellows. So I want to go for that yellow. So you can cut off a part of that triangle, and then you get this. Maybe this yellow is the most saturated color, so you're going to use it at as few dots as possible. So let me paint this little boat to show it more. So here we're using the red for the boat. Maybe here's this roof. So the red we're using a lot. Then we're using this green a bit less, maybe here and here. And then using this yellow at maybe some details like this here and here. So some rule I sometimes take is that I'm using, let me see. So we have, I think 10% yellow, and then 30% of this color, and then 60% of this color. So something like this. So sometimes I'm thinking a bit about that, and then I use for the yellow a really saturated color, so to stick out some details. And you can also use that with some characters. For example, if we would make, let's make a little dragon. So something like this. Here, my most beautiful dragon ever. So here we have this character. And then we start with the red because we decided to give that color the most thing. And so here we're using this as an base color. So use it for his main body. So then we have to decide what are we going to give 30% of. So maybe here, oh, maybe for his belly, this here, maybe for part of his head, so like this here, and maybe for a part of the wings. So that's maybe a bit less than 30%. So maybe adding some more here and there. So, and then you could use that yellow for maybe also giving these eye colors. Maybe you can use that yellowish, the bright yellow for his eyes, and maybe for his, maybe he has 2 big teeth and the other ones are like this. Or maybe those are a bit desaturated yellow, but like this. So something like this. So this is how I would play around with those colors and the gamut mask. So let's move on. And this off. Yeah, and then I would put adding shading and details, explaining about it in different tutorials. And oh, here, this is what I showing with the different colors for this machine. And here I'm showing some different gamuts. So complementary would look like this, and triad, square, tetradic. And you can also always scale them around a bit and play around what I've just shown with all those things. So you can rotate the gamut mask, you can scale the gamut mask. So warm and cool colors. When a lot of times, let's just show this one here. So this skin color is red. And so sometimes red is a warm color. So that's here. And sometimes when I give it a shadow, I move the slider over to a more purplish color. So I'm going, so here, let's paint it. So here I'm painting this character with this warm skin color. So here and here. And then I go to the shadow. And then sometimes I take a cooler color. So I move the color picker to a cooler color, more to the blue. And then I use this purple for the shadows. So make it a bit darker. So you get this dark shadow. What I sometimes also do is I make a multiply layer. And I take, for example, this color. And then I pick this cooler color, put the saturation down, and I use it to put this on multiply for the shadows. Maybe make it a bit stronger. So you get these cool shadows. So basically what you're doing is then when you're creating a ball, so let's make a green ball. And when I'm shading it, maybe I want to shade this green ball with this bluish, here, the blue color. And it works really well. That's more, or else your colors will get gray. So then you get this. So that would look more interesting than if you would just use one color. So here, using warm and cool colors makes it really more interesting. So Yeah, here I'm showing that with color wheel. And that, yeah, so, and basically if you're having this color, you can choose to make it cooler going this way or cooler going this way. If you have a cold color, you can go this way or this way. And for example, if you have this color, you can also go this way or this way. What you can also have is when you have a blue color, maybe you can think of maybe there are some warm shadows to it. It's also, so you're using also this purplish color. And I like to use purple a lot instead of, yeah, the green gets a bit, yeah, it works, but purple works for me better as a shadow color. Yeah, warm and cool. Let's go to values. And values are really funny and they really mess with your mind. And like here I'm showing this. I don't know if you maybe seen this illusion before. So checker shadow illusion is an optical illusion. One appears to be darker color than area 2, but they are identical and have the same value. And that is really weird. So if you have this color, let's make a hard brush. If we pick this color and we make a straight line, you see that it's the same color here, that these are identical. But for our mind, if we put it this color is lighter than this color. But because the colors are around it are also darker, this is an illusion that this is lighter than that is, and so on. So here's the same thing. So this color seems lighter than this color, but these are the same colors. For example, make this. You see, it's the same color. It's super weird, but that is how our mind works. So that is also a thing you can. It's really good to know of when you're creating art. So refraction, and that's really interesting. That's when light passes through a glass prism, it breaks into colors. So when light goes through water, glass, they're starting to get refraction, and then you get all these different, and the colors break. So refraction divides white light as it passes through a prism into a rainbow of colors. And the stronger the angle, the stronger the colors get refracted. When you look at the pencil going into the water, it appears bent because of refraction. So, and this is a way to calculate it. And when I'm drawing water or an object in water, I don't really calculate it. So when I would draw this in 3D, this pencil going in the water, I would draw something like this. So, but basically it's this effect. And you could, if you want, you can calculate it all out in these angles. So here you can see it has this angle because of the position of the eye and the pencils. I honestly never use this, but it's really interesting to know the facts around it. And when you are drawing it and you guess it, then you have sort of an idea. And so try to notice it when you're looking at water. Try to see those, how that works. So, and you can also see it a bit with a glass ball. So maybe if we would have drawn a pencil here, So this pencil here, and then it gets refracted a bit by the shape of that ball. So for example, like this, and so on. So try to remind that, so maybe it goes inwards. I even don't exactly know, but often I try to find something that's interesting and it makes sense. It doesn't have to be, super exactly. And of course, if you can do that and understand that's really, it's only better. So that's refraction. Then we also have subsurface scattering. And so if you put your fingers on a lamp, you can see a bit through it, and then you get this reddish glow. So that is when you're putting your hands in a really bright sun, then you also sometimes you see these colors. And in art, you often see that exaggerated, also in movies. And that's also why in a lot of times you see the ears, and this part is really thin, and then sometimes it gets light up. And that's because when light goes through the ball and then it scatters. So let me show that here. So we have this ball and there's light on it, and here you can see a bit of light reflecting, but the more light is going through it like this, and it breaks. Think of the refraction. So you get these green. So it's a bit like there's green beams coming out of it and they land everywhere, and then you get this green glow everywhere. And that's why you get this glow on the shadow, because that here some of the light gets bounced, so there will be shadow, but there will also here will be the most of those green beams on it, and then you get that that effect there. You can also see it in leaves. So maybe this is the, for example, here we have these two leaves, and this is the top side of the leaf, and the sun is on it, and of course you get this green look. But it's really, and it's really interesting to see if you're in the forest and you have these young leaves. The bottom side seems to glow, and the top sides are just normal green, but the bottom side, because the light is passing through it, and then you get these bright colors going into your eye. So we're calling that subsurface scattering. And I also drew this. You can use this. Yeah, I did it with this character. So this jelly character that is has this skin that has this color, and the color goes through it, and then you get this effect. So the light just passes through it, and then the green light scatters all around, so it emits that color. That works really well for aliens and for plants and stuff like that too, and it's fun to play around. You would also see that with some food. So maybe a cherry also has that a bit. So some stuff have that more than and then others. You can also use that here. This one, you could also tone it a bit down or really make it intense. It's really it's different materials have different subsurface scattering. Like our skin is almost no subsurface scattering, but when it's against a lamp, you can see it. But with an alien like this, then it works really stronger. So try to think of that. So that was the video about colors, and the painting and so on are in the other videos, and I hope you liked it, and let me know if you have any question about this subject. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.